Good evening, Vacaville. This is the regularly scheduled City Council meeting, March 25th, 2025 at 6 p.m. We're at Vacaville City Hall. May I have a roll call, please?
Council Agency Authority Member Stockton. Here. Ritchie. Here. Silva. Here. Freemo. Here. Wiley. Here. Vice Mayor, Vice Chair Chapman. Here. Mayor Chair Carvin.
And I'm here. If you're able, will you please rise for a moment of silence? Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome everyone and those who may be watching online. Any changes to tonight's agenda, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have one change. Item 8A is an alpha, is being continued to the April meeting as our guest speaker is unable to attend tonight.
All right. Thank you. With that change in mind, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. We have no presentations tonight separate than what would be on 8A, so we will move on to consent calendar. Is there any member of the council or the public wishing to pull an item for discussion? It would be items A through H.
Yeah.
Councilmember Stockton.
I'd like to pull C.
Item C. Is that correct? Item C?
Yes.
Okay. We'll pull that for discussion. Other than that, anyone else wishing to pull an item for discussion? The public or the council? All right, with that, do I have a motion to move the remainder items?
Motion approved to consent.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we'll discuss item C. Councilmember Stockton?
Yes. The only reason why I pulled C, I fully intend to vote yes on this to respect the council's decision to reallocate some of the funds for Vacaville Park. But I did want to reiterate that I believe that we should have not spent that money for the park right now with the deficit spending and some of the other financial issues going on with the city. But my yes vote tonight is simply to respect the process of the money moving where it needs to be to coincide with council's decision to move that money for Vacaville Park. That's what I wanted to address.
All right. Well, with that, since we pulled it, I'm going to go ahead and open up to the public if the public wishes to comment on this item. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council.
Motion to approve.
We'll hold off 1 second. Councilmember Wiley.
Yes, as long as the item's open, I will just say that I'm happy to see that with this, the money will be approved for reducing the speed zone signs within the public schools. And so hopefully we'll have less traffic and congestion around the schools because we've had problems, for years. And we as a council voted to lower the speed limit, but it's taken a while to have the information and the signs ready. So I'm just happy to see that moving along. So thank you, Public Works, for moving toward 15 miles speed zones at the school district.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Wiley. Councilmember Stockton, you want to move a motion?
Yeah.
We have a motion, a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We will move on to business from the floor. This is an opportunity for the public to address the council on any item that's within our jurisdiction within the city of Vacaville that is not on tonight's agenda. And if you wish to come forward and present any issue, you have 3 minutes. I will open it up to the floor.
My name's Les Harris. Just come here to ask some questions. I understand that I don't know whether it's Sacramento or this city or whatever is redistricting the fire hazards around Vacaville, which now comes into our area and a lot of areas.
Well, those are questions that we will also be able to address. I can't answer them directly at this moment from this. This is business from the floor, but I will direct staff, and we'll probably have a discussion later on maybe what some of our options are. I know that we have it on our website, and we're all looking at the same information. So I don't have an answer for you right now.
But you mean tonight? We'll talk about it tonight?
No, it's not on business, so it's not really a topic of discussion, but it is an issue I know that's of concern of our community for sure. More to follow. Good evening.
Wendy Brecken, been here in Vacaville for like 33 years. I'm here to also comment on the fire severity hazard areas. I'm now in a high severity area, so we'll probably lose my insurance if this continues. And I mean, I'm already paying for parents' care and, you know, helping out other family members. And so this hits hard. I was hoping that there's something that maybe the council could do to get like a task force together to see if there's anything we can do to harden up the areas. It doesn't seem like it's a huge area around the Browns Valley area. I know other areas are moderate. I haven't had a chance to look at the whole map, but I know that there are options for fire hardening, you know, fences, don't have to be wooden porches, you know, keeping brush away from the house, all those kind of things. But in addition, construction standards can change. And I just don't know what the factors are that can be addressed to change the number, the high severity number, maybe the ISO standard, if it changes from I guess it's a 2 to 1, so that the fire, you know, response is faster. That's my understanding of that. Maybe that would help. But maybe some kind of task force to just like get a working group together to see if there's, you know, have people research, see what can be done. So it's not just staff's job, but, you know, it can get the community involved. I don't know. That's just my idea.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Good evening, Mayor Carley, council members, staff. Leo Escarcega, White Sands Drive. My comments are regarding the recent council decision to move forward to adjust water and sewer rates. To be clear, any way you slice the 2 rate increase scenarios, while this will have a financial impact on city residents and businesses, I totally get it. Not having a sewer rate increase in 11 years and a water rate increase in 5 years. Credit to the utility department for providing safe drinking water and wastewater treatment without a rate increase. At the March 11th council meeting, several members posed a question as to what the city council could do to assist low or fixed income residents should the council decide to vote in favor of a rate increase. I understand there's a discount program available for qualified customers. However, I would like the council to consider the following suggestions. Number 1, open a utility department water conservation office at City Hall. In-person Q&A on water conservation products and their rebates, displays of water efficient fixtures, pool covers, rain barrels, water saving shower heads, smart irrigation controls, etc. Number 2, scale up the water conservation community outreach. Meetings, workshops at senior centers, public libraries, downtown farmers market. Number 3, I'll reference the City of Vacaville's Recycled Water Master Plan Feasibility Study. Recommended recycled water portfolio. Recycled water filling stations, a potential recycled water truck filling station located at the Easterly Wastewater Treatment Plant. There would also be a potential to expand access to other commercial entities within the city and possibly to the general public. The cities of Livermore, Brentwood have a recycled water fill station at their wastewater treatment plants, providing free non-potable water for landscaping irrigation. Residents can get up to 300 gallons of water per visit, and this is free. With outdoor water usage, the largest portion of residential water bill, a recycled water fill station would help residents lower their potable water consumption and thus lower their water bill. Thank you for listening. I've provided the city clerk with some documents supporting my statements. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Council. I don't have a formal address for you tonight. However, our coalition would like to request that the city or council provides a liaison for us regarding the issue of sober living homes and any proposed ordinances so that we have an effective and efficient open line of communication regarding the issue. I've emailed a request and I'm now requesting that in person, so it is on public record. The situation is gaining attention from multiple stakeholders and their neighborhood associations across the city. And since it affects the city at large, we would like a point of contact so that we can effectively communicate accurate information, respect your time as council members, and be made aware when the city is looking at this becoming an agendized item, in addition to the website where we can already view the council's business forecast. We would really appreciate your consideration of this request, and we hope you have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin, and good evening, esteemed members of the City Council. As longtime residents of our cherished town of Vacaville, where we raised 6 children and now delight in the company of 23 grandchildren, we feel compelled to share also our concerns regarding this pressing issue of the sober living home. Recently, we learned of Mr. Andrew Lamb, who purchased a home in our neighborhood for $200,000 below market value. He publicly expressed intentions to convert this property into a sober living home, as evidenced by his numerous social media posts promoting such ventures. You can find many of the YouTubes entitled Sober Living to Riches, meant for investors and people that are endeavoring to make money doing real estate. Despite his rebranding of the concept as medical respite, it is apparent that this term serves as a euphemism for housing individuals experiencing homelessness or addictions. Our community finds itself at a disadvantage as we currently lack the robust ordinances that other cities such as Costa Mesa and Fountain Valley have successfully implemented. Mr. Lamb could easily designate a house manager from among the residents, potentially accommodating 10 to 12 individuals within the confines of 2,500 square foot home. This specific location is on Stonewood, as we've talked about, and it's notably distant from public transportation, so we'll have a littering of many cars on the streets. The absence of accountability also in such arrangements raises alarming concerns, with statistics indicating a potential crime rate increase of up to 93%. Moreover, it's essential to consider the safety of our neighborhood's many young children who may be inadvertently placed at risk by such establishments. While I appreciate your familiarity with the ordinances enforced in Costa Mesa, I urge you to consider the recent measures adopted by Fountain Valley. I emailed the documentation from the 9th Circuit to illustrate these points further to you. The acceptability fostered by these regulations is paramount. It serves to temper the ambitions of opportunistic investors while ensuring that assistance for those in need is delivered in a responsible manner. I wholeheartedly support initiatives aiming at helping individuals, but it's imperative that we do so in a way that safeguards our neighborhoods and enforces accountability for both investors and those they intend to assist. The state of California actually allocates substantial funds to landlords like Mr. Lamb for housing individuals in need. However, it raises concerns when such investors can purchase properties, simply appoint a house manager, and then disengage from the responsibilities that also accompany such endeavors. I advocate for the establishment of stringent ordinances that limit occupancy to a maximum of 6 individuals per residence. There are numerous alternatives for Mr. Lamb and other investors to pursue profitability while adhering to responsible practices. For example, he is going to realize $200,000 of income from this home, from this venture alone. Furthermore, he could wish to, if he really wishes to demonstrate his philanthropic intent, he could establish the Andrew Lamb Foundation on his own 1.3-acre private property in Solar Hills.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your attention to this critical matter and for your swift action in enacting appropriate ordinances.
Thank you.
Thank you, City.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Carly, City Council, and City staff. In my hand here is a petition of over 100 signatures I've gathered in a little over a week from many of the residents in support of cannabis program in Vacaville. Well, at least the ones that actually took time to submit it. These supporters are not just from recreational, but also medical patients, veterans with PTSD, grandparents with health complications, working citizens with severe disorders, and thousands more who agree and want to see cannabis take the next step in our city. I've had the opportunity of hearing many of their stories, and continuing to choose not to have a cannabis program in town does not help them. With this petition, we are voicing their needs. They are voicing their needs to the council, saying they are tired of traveling outside cities just to get what they need, and they want what they voted on, a legal, regulated cannabis program accessible to them within their own city. On this, I've received a bunch of support from local and state community organizations showing that they stand with our residents in our fight for cannabis regulation in Vacaville. I've also garnered a good amount of support from over 30 local businesses here in Vacaville who also are in favor of Vacaville having its own cannabis program. This demonstrates our support from our resident population, state and local community organizations, and Vacaville business, and some of the Vacaville business community. If that's not speaking loudly, I don't know what is. Council, don't let the old ways and personal opinions on cannabis get in the way of doing what's right for your residents now. This level of support shows the voice of the people and the great demand across the board for this. You few are the only ones who have the power to carry out the will of the people. And right now, we need you to take heed to this will and voice of the people and finally move forward on this. Council, say yes to providing an essential service within the 10-mile radius for your residents. Say yes to a program that brings recurring revenue to our city, and say yes to deploying a regulated cannabis program here in Vacaville. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, City Council and our community guests. Thank you for the time this evening for me to be able to present my concerns on Mr. Lamb's business venture in my neighborhood. My husband and I are original homeowners for 25 years in the Stonegate development. We're both healthcare professionals, and I've been a registered nurse for 44 years, with 37 of those here in Vacaville. Please do not be swayed by Mr. Lamb's ever-changing narrative about his business venture in the neighborhood. This is not a philanthropic venture for women and children who are undergoing cancer treatment. He's planning to take a 5-bedroom home in a single-family neighborhood and that has who are for women and children undergoing cancer treatment, and changing this to a family or housing 10 to 12 people. There's no public transportation nearby, there's no shopping or food service, and there's no on-site medical staff and no parking to support the individuals on the street, and no on-site management. This single-family home will be for his own personal profit. The state of California has regulatory guidelines and oversight for medical care facilities that I don't see he has met, as a board and care or home health agency or hospice. I'm concerned about who is overseeing the safety and security. What is the oversight to prevent fraud and abuse of vulnerable individuals and children? Who is the dedicated caregiver for medically compromised individuals and children? And a reminder that home health and hospice does not provide care around the clock, but you have to have a dedicated care provider. Please don't let this man fool you about his motive. These are his own words about maximizing his real estate business, online and public. 1, how I run 11 sober living homes in less than 1 hour a day. 2, the secret to building wealth with group homes in 2024, millionaire in 1 year. 3, take control of your future. Buy your first living home using OPM, which is other people's money. 4, 0 to $6,000 a month with just one house. And 5, how to 10 times your cash flow with sober living. I respect each of you as our elected community leadership. I entrust your due diligence in research to keep all involved safe in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone else is wishing to speak on this item, just for the time's sake, you could also go ahead and form a line, if whoever's next, just for that. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members. I've lived in various neighborhoods throughout Vacaville for more than 5 decades and in the Stonegate neighborhood for nearly 20 years. I'm here to speak tonight not just about Stonegate neighborhood, but all the neighborhoods in Vacaville. During the most recent council meeting, you have heard from numerous concerned citizens and my neighbors in Stonegate. They have asked that the city adopt the Costa Mesa ordinance ruling that appears to have been successful in their community. They have provided statistics, information that warrants consideration of this. We understand that the occupants of these sober living facilities are a protected class, but at the same point, we should also be protecting the homeowners and the families of these neighborhoods. Costa Mesa has already done the hard work. I really don't see any downside to adopting the same ordinance. It appears that our options are limited. We can do nothing, or we can follow Costa Mesa's example. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, I'm going to go ahead and close business from the floor and bring it back to the council. Mr. City Manager, could you provide any information or insight in the status of the ordinance that is in question?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as we've shared before, we are actively pursuing an ordinance, the possibilities of an ordinance. The circumstances related to the background behind Costa Mesa's ordinance are quite different than ours. Our legal department has been in contact with the attorneys that prepared that ordinance and also talking with other legal counselors on this particular subject. And so we want to make sure, again, that we're doing it right and that it applies so that it's enforceable. Again, the circumstances behind the Costa Mesa ordinance as well as the Fountain Valley, they're different. And so we're receiving lots of legal counsel in that regard that it's not one size fits all. And so we're making sure that we're taking into account all the different variables associated with any number of different uses that are being thrown out there as possibilities for use of that type of facility anywhere in the city. And so, again, we're making sure that we're doing our homework, but we're also looking at it from our local perspective of what we do have control. So we're also going to be exploring the possibility or needing to update our zoning code to provide clearer definitions and so forth along those lines. So my hope is that we can come back to council possibly at the April 22nd meeting with an update. It will not include an actual ordinance for action because work that's being done on that effort is probably going to be occurring at that same time. So, but at least we can come back with an update. We have received the emails requesting, information on that, and we will be responding to that. And as far as a designated person, I will work with staff to figure out how we can do that so we can keep you apprised of what's going on. Okay?
And although this isn't a business item, I know that there's statewide the fire issues. I think that there's confusion. The city of Vacaville doesn't control that, and I think everyone's just as concerned, and so is the council. So more to come on internal discussions, but it's not a business item in the moment. So we can't discuss it further unless you have information.
If I could, just real quick, there's a lot of good information on our webpage about the fire hazard area. We are receiving comments from the public till April 1st. We will be coming back as a general discussion item for the city council at the April 22nd meeting as well. And then we have until our May 13th meeting to take action on it. But really, it is a state-guided process that we do not have a lot of opportunity to do much with that. But if you are interested, please continue to take a look at our website, and then please watch the update at the April 22nd meeting.
Yeah, thank you very much. So with that, we'll go ahead and move on. We do not have any public hearings tonight, and 8A is pulled, so we will go to item 8B. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an exciting update for staff to present to the City Council and to the community. This is a presentation and demonstration of our updated, redesigned website. Our public relations manager, Joanna Leal, and her team have been very actively working on this update. And so Joanna Leal is here with an overview of the redesign. But if we wait another minute, we'll get started.
Yeah, we'll just pause for a second.
Yep, thank you, sir.
Some noise. Yeah, thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and begin this presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Vice Mayor, and members of the City Council, esteemed colleagues, and Vacaville community that is still here and watching online. It's very exciting. I am happy to sit here and represent so many hours and so many staff that have been working on the website. So this is, for all intents and purposes, truly a citywide effort to do a website redesign. So with that, I'll dive in, just do a little bit of background. So the city approved, after a request for proposal process, a 2017 Vision Internet contract that was later acquired by Granicus, who is our current website host. And who we work with diligently with both this solution as well as other solutions within the city. We conducted a community survey in 2023 to get more information from the community about what types of things they want to see on the website, what some of the pain points were, like the old look, difficult to navigate. The search feature wasn't fully optimized, and then content just kind of scrolls and outdated, unorganized type of feedback that we got. So a lot of that went into what we did for the redesign. The City Council also extended our contract with Granicus through April 2028. As a part of that, the City Council approved annual hosting. So as part of the redesign, continuing, not putting all that effort in without a continued relationship with Granicus. So through April 2028 at this point. And then the redesign package. And so it was kind of twofold in there. Some of the special design elements that we took to council and the council approved in 2023 included new kind of unique design to the city, quick links, logo elements, and then something called the developer toolkit, which is really the way that city staff can customize department landing pages. We can create some microsites, among other efforts on the back end to help with our goal number 4 in the strategic plan, which is just kind of maintaining effective and efficient services. And this gives staff the ability to really edit the web pages in a more kind of concise manner, and it doesn't take as much staff time, essentially. So looking back over the last year, we wanted to pull some analytics from the website. I will note that with the new update to the analytics, we are no longer able to kind of remove the City Hall IP address. So this does pull in the analytics from all of the users at City Hall, so all your staff as an example. So this is inclusive of that. We are able to remove the intranet, which is the city employees, kind of where our time cards are and some of the documents and other training. So over the last year, we had just under 1 million unique users, and so that's each one of us that accesses it, even if we access it multiple times, we're each counted as one unique user. We had just under 1.5 million total views, and so that would be if I am looking at it and you're looking at it, and then I go home and I look at it again, so that's a total view. I've looked at it twice, but on 2 separate IP addresses. Our average pages per user, which is something that we really strive, we want 1-2 click. So if a user is going to the website, we want them to be able to access the information that they're looking for within 2 clicks. So once they're on the home page, that they're able to click once or twice more to get to the information that they're looking for. We want it to be seamless. We want it to be easy to use, easy to navigate. And so our average click per user is 1.02, which is really good for industry average. The total events, so this is essentially if you have gone in and you've clicked a link or you've downloaded a document or some other kind of interaction with the website. Impression would be one way to kind of describe it, like using social media lingo. So we had 4.3 million interactions with the website, which means it's getting used, right? Which is great news, and especially since we've redesigned it. And then the last thing I wanted to pull from the user, the search feature is the 4th most visited page, and that's second only to utility billing and the city's homepage. And there's 2 separate utility billings in there. And so this was really important to us because this, as we looked at how to kind of shift the website, the redesigned website, it was really important so that how we did the optimizations to make that search really helpful for people when they're going. I think most of us, when we navigate any website, we're clicking on search, like, okay, let me just type it in here real fast and see if I can find it. So that's one important piece. So some of the updates we included here, we wanted to really, and we've been over the last couple of years. So some of these elements we've been working on as city staff for several years, and that includes updating the design for more mobile responsiveness. I didn't pull the specific analytic, but a year ago, 75% of our users are looking at our website on a mobile device. So whereas here at City Hall, staff are sitting at computers and PCs and we're editing the website that way. So we're not necessarily, haven't really been looking through that scope of mobile responsiveness. So that's something that we really switched the gears and are really looking at ensuring that if someone's going and looking at the website on their mobile phone, that they're able to really navigate the website the same way that you would if you were on the PC. And then just how we manage our different department landing pages and making sure that as one navigates, the consistency is across the panel. So we have about 600 plus pages, and every single department manages their own pages. So the consistency was really important. We've got 50 to 60 people that are in the website potentially editing, making changes to their department pages. That consistency is really like across pages. If you're clicking on the police department versus the fire department versus the city manager's office, that the look and feel is the same. So that's a lot of the work that we've been doing and will continue to be doing, of course. I talked a little bit about the search focus. One other thing I wanted to add on that we've been doing with this redesign effort is building out, again, I keep saying the back end, the content management system, so that where staff access all the information. And we've been building out the search engine optimization. And so that allows 2 things. One, if someone's typing in a search on the website, they're able to navigate to specifically what they're looking for more quickly by adding unique keywords. And then also updating the descriptions. So if you go to Google and type in City of Vacaville staff directory, it's going to take you, and the first thing that's going to pop up is the City of Vacaville staff directory. So it's also going to improve it on that end too. Can't totally control some of those search engines, but we'll do our best to kind of work with them so that they can run or crawl our new redesigned website. Another feature that we added is the I want to section. We previously had this as a resource guide that was really accessible with lots of different links and lots of information for the community. So we're updating that a little bit to kind of somewhat of our frequently asked questions or questions that we get people calling in about. Some of them might be like, a birth certificate. Well, we of course don't have those, so redirecting people to the county website for that information. And so just being really cognizant of people coming to their local government and the information that they're requesting or wanting or needing. Some of the other things that we really looked at with this redesign is the WCAG 2.1, which is basically the website accessibility requirements that are coming into effect in 2026. So we've got about 12 months. And some of that looks like ensuring that we're not using all caps on the website, or if we are, it's intended to be that way so that screen readers can read it. And also making sure the alt text or the alternative text in images is also readable by a screen reader. And then also with that, making sure the links are linked correctly. So when you navigate to a page, it doesn't say click here, because then a screen reader is not going to know what they're clicking on. So making sure that we're linking the information correctly for all of our community. And in part, this also goes to goal number 5 in the strategic plan, promoting community equity, community engagement and increased equity and inclusion. So we want to make sure we're being very inclusive of all of our community in that way. The last thing I just wanted up here is broken links and errors. So thing with websites is they're a living document. Things are constantly changing. There's been a ton of effort from staff going into this, but there are going to be things that are broken because we are moving things and restructuring it a little bit. And there might be errors, there might be things that look old that we just haven't gotten to yet, to those 600 plus pages. So 2 requests, be patient with us, please. And then secondly, if you see a broken link, there's a way to report it on the website. Please, please, please report it, because that's how we're going to know that we need to update it. So give us a little grace on that. So this is the old website. This is just a quick screenshot I did earlier today. And so then I'm going to dive into the new website and give you just a brief demonstration. So this is the new homepage of the website. Let me pull it up here. There we go. No, that didn't work. Okay, there we go. So we're really going for a unique look. The Granicus has template looks that we could adapt. This is kind of their search focused look. And so as you can see here, front and center is the search focus. This is where people can interact and type in information and hopefully navigate specifically to where they're going, or at least have options across the website. Also within this, we did pay for extra design elements in here. So you can see this curvature here is actually the hills that are in our logo. And so what you'll see here is some different element designs that are in our logo as you scroll through the website. So you can see the sun rays and the cloud in the search function. And then as we scroll down, we have the spotlight, and you can see back here, it's called a parallax image. And so it kind of scrolls over it in the background. And with our spotlights, similar to our old website, this is just somewhere else that people can go to access really important information here in the community, or cleanup on Saturday. Our news and events section, so the things that are happening that are recent press releases that we've put out. Again, here in the background, the hills part of our logo, and then our talk of the town section, which are really kind of high priority items that continue to come up or that are new or important to the community that we want to include front and center on the website. Then a new feature we have is a video spotlight. So this actually, and I won't click play, but this actually plays the video within the frame of the website. But then you can also go off to YouTube or look at all of our videos on YouTube. And then a kind of new and improved calendar where you, again, can scroll over it. As you can see here, it's a busy week for all of us. But you can access all this information and then click to see the full calendar. And then again here, the hills with the hills a part of the logo. And then at the very bottom, and this is the same footer on every single page, is we have our city skyline here. Other additions that we made were these quick links on the side. So this was something that we did have them specifically designed for us. And so if we decided to, if we felt like the homepage scrolled too long, we could essentially cut it off here and then have these quick links access everything that is further down on the page and take users directly to where they want to go. Some of the other additions, so I'm going to hop over. As part of the developer toolkit, we can also customize our department level landing pages. So this is the police department. You can see here, instead of this being the search box, this is where we have the page title for it being the police department or housing or whatever the case may be. Users can scroll down and still access that search across the website. And then we can pick and choose what we want available as far as like the spotlight and the video or nothing if we want. We did take these quick links over here and specifically targeted the police department social media links. So those are available on the city's website to our community. And then over here in this bottom corner, two things we've got going on. On every single page, you can click to go back up to the top. And so that's really important, especially on mobile. In that mobile view, once you scrolled a little bit, if you want to go back up to the top, it takes you quickly back up there. And then we have our city communications link here. So this is going to take users right to the city communications page where they can see immediate information. They can see the city calendar. They can send us a message. We do our best to respond to these within 48 hours. A full staff directory. They can subscribe to city updates, access news, and so on and so forth. Other development features, so here's our housing and community services. So housing does not have a specific logo, so it kind of adapts the logo on the main page. But we do have this developer toolkit I mentioned, and it's not super visible to the community, but we know the work that went in behind the scenes. And so one example of this, excuse me, I clicked on the wrong link here. One example of this is our wait list. And so this gives the ability for staff to go in and specifically edit these to an open status. So right now, the Rocky Hills Veteran Development Project-based waitlist is open. So those staff can go in and edit this information in the back end, and it helps reduce the amount of time it takes to actually put in this information. So that's just one way it's helped staff. The other thing that we've added are frequently asked questions on lots of different applicable pages. So on this page specific, these questions are going to kind of drop down or expand to see what their answers are. But then if someone has additional questions just specifically about housing, since we're on the housing site, they can click more FAQs, and it's going to take them back over to housing where they can review additional questions. Also access it on different department level landing pages. They can also kind of condense it via category. So this is separated by categories here. So it gives us a different views depending upon what we're going for. I also wanted to just show you the tree bait program as another way that we've used the developer toolkit. Potentially a lot of work to build out this type of grid on the main site, but using this developer toolkit, it made it much simpler for staff to go in, especially someone who might not be super comfortable with working with like HTML code and CSS script. And so that is helpful to staff. The other neat part about it is if you wanted to click into it, it stays within the frame of the website or the web page, so all the information is still available for our users in that way, and then can click back, and it takes you back to the full page. And then the last thing I want to show, as we were kind of working through design elements in the last couple of years and trying to figure out how to build out the page, we were really focused on a user-centered design. We, within staff, we kind of generally know where things are, but we don't expect the community to always know, if something's utilities or public works. And so we really wanted to focus on building our residents section to ensure that our community was able to access specific information to them. So we have a couple different things we have within our resident section. We have e-services. Again, the talk of the town shows up here that we had from the main page. We have a variety of services available in our community section. And then within citywide information, these are kind of frequented questions and information that we do get. And then also, of course, Measure M information and about us. And we're working on some economic development updates, so our demographics will also be here once we get those pages updated. So That's it for the most part. This is our staging site. We are going to go live, if you will, tomorrow morning. Give us 48 hours for it to kind of fully propagate over before you start kind of sending us those broken link requests. Hopefully there's not too many of them. And I think that does it for the presentation. And I am available if there are any questions.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's always difficult on these updates. The reality is, it seems like when you do an update like this, it's already the countdown to the next one. It's hard to keep them updated. So, Councilmember Silva.
Yeah, thank you for putting on the work in and the design and all those things that make people feel good when they access this type of medium to get answers. Are we keeping track of? Is there any way to keep track of things that people search that they're not able to find, or hey, I couldn't find this where they? You mentioned something about reporting like bad links, but is there something to provide feedback to us in that way?
So we can check and see where what the search parameters are that people submit. We can also see within the analytics if somebody is, I forgot exactly what it's called, if they're trying to click something and they can't find it, if they're going back and forth. So we can kind of see like user experience in that way. We can't see who the person is, but we can kind of see the experience that they had. So if they're coming across something, if there's like one specific page that is continuing to get an error, we also see that in the analytics. It's probably not, it probably takes a little bit of investigation to get to it, but we can definitely kind of go back and look at that information.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see another, I don't imagine I have it today, but how many, if you exclude water bill, paying my water bill, or paying, what's the city council agenda of where else people are looking at of interest to them. The calendar of events. So this is something that's come up since I've been on council. I'm of the mindset that if anybody has an approved permit or an affiliation with the city, that their events should be on some type of centralized resource where people can kind of say, hey, what's going on this weekend? Anything from like farmers market to restaurant week or something like that. So with that calendar, does that calendar, do we have the capacity at this time to include those type of events?
I think we'd have to further investigate what that looks like, how many events are happening, how many events we're approving, the timeliness of the approval of those permits, to really see if that's a possibility that staff could, how heavy of a lift it would be to maintain something like that.
So currently it's just like what currently would be included on the calendar of events?
So right now, city meetings, so everything from council and commission meetings,
All the fun stuff.
community events, everything that's pretty much city hosted, if you will, neighborhood meetings. So like community development has a bunch of pop-up meetings coming up in April. Those will be included on the calendar once they're kind of fully vetted, and that information goes out onto social. We do, and I say I, because it's me. I do my best to try to also include a lot of those into other calendars like Nextdoor, and pushing information out on like Facebook and doing a Facebook event depending upon, what it is and how big, like how much of an effort it is to do all those, since it's just me. But I think as far as like doing a literally citywide calendar, I think it really would have to depend on what that lift looks like. And so I'd have to work with our special events staff that work on all the planning of like non-city hosted events, and what that would entail.
And just to clarify, each department can go in and edit their department page. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, good. Because I've been work for other places where not having that access is a challenge. So let's see so real quick on the video component. I happen to think that videos are extremely powerful way of communicating these days. I, as a teacher, professor, know that people don't like to read anything I see on social media. They read the title and automatically come up with opinions based on a sensationalized title. I'm of the mindset that we can really inform. We have a great opportunity to inform our residents of what's going on, and not necessarily talk about like challenges and opinions, but like here's where we're at, or here's what we're doing. Some of the highest reacted posts that I've seen the city do are things like a community service project, for example, or hey, this is how we pave, this is how we do our, this is how we pave our roads. And I think those things just in a sense are, very simple and very informative for people to be like, oh, cool. It's just, I think over time that adds a knowledge base to the public. And with this, I know that takes extra time to develop that type of resource, but this would allow, this design would allow us to pursue something like that if we need to within the video links.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially having it on our homepage for the time being, anyhow, like it's front and center. And I'm sure you've seen we've definitely increased our output, and I have a small but mighty team, and we recognize the value of doing video updates, doing more imagery, less words, because people aren't reading them, right? So trying to provide as much information for those people that do want to read and where to go, but visually it's very concise information. So videos are definitely one of the assets that we are producing more and more of.
And then the last question I have, I've had, just to clarify, well, where are we at with providing access? Like, we don't provide legal services to residents, but I often get a wide range of different requests for, hey, Mike, do you know a lawyer to help with XYZ? What are some of the challenges with providing that type of resource or a link to a reputable resource for people to access here?
Yeah. Sorry, let me try to tab over here. Oh, good, it came up. So we do have some resources available on the city's website. I am a little careful with providing too much kind of external resources unless they're government related, just because it's the city sending people to them. So if they're not fully vetted, or we just want to be a little bit careful with that. So two places on the city attorney's page, they do have some resources available here that folks can access, and some of these might have some information in there. But then also under our government page, Family Resource, or under Family Resource Center, we have the resource guide, and I think you are a big part of kind of getting this up and going. We do have some legal services available on here also. There it is. So there are some items on here that users can also access. We'll be updating this look as well. And it will be kind of like this I want to section, which is a new feature on the website too. So this kind of, you can pick information and then select, different items on here, and it will take you to the actual page to do those. And so we're going to build out that resource guide so it's a little bit more user-friendly in this way versus this kind of other way. It's not as user-friendly. It's not as compatible with screen readers the way that the table's set up. So this is one of the things that we're still working on.
Thank you.
Councilmember Weil.
Thank you for the information. I think this was long overdue, so I'm really happy to see it. And then I'll practice it and see what questions I have after that, because I can't always find things. But two things I had a question about. Can people come to this and then be able to make a reservation for a park and pay for that reservation all on this website?
I believe so. The reservation's not through the web portal itself. It's through our Parks and Rec portal. I think you can actually do it through here. I'm hoping that I pick the right one.
Facility rental.
Facility rental or
Yeah.
a park rental. Right. And then that will take people, this is actually to our rec site that I was mentioning. So that information's available here. And then I can't log in and show you that it can be done, but I'm fairly certain that it can all be done within this portal.
Thank you, thank you. And then my other question, you mentioned the intranet with the analytics and that it wasn't reflected in that. So were there also changes to intranet, or will employees see the same thing they've always seen?
So it's pretty much what they have seen is what they're going to see. We've done a little bit of work. So the back end, the content management system is updated with the website. But the look is not so much updated. And I think part of that depends on what our our IT kind of strategic plan looks like as far as eventually maybe moving away from the like hosted intranet site and more to a SharePoint site. But I don't know that we have a specific date for that yet. So we're not putting a ton of time and resources into that, knowing that we're going to be eventually shifting over to this other resource.
But if we have like a username and that won't change with if we need to get something.
No, that shouldn't change. And actually, employees can go to our human resources site and access. We created an employee central section, so this is really easy for employees to navigate. And on here includes the employee intranet. So this is the link to utilize to get to that site. We had updated when we moved over to CityofVacaville.gov and we have some Microsoft integration so that when employees, when they're at their work site, when they're at their desk, they can automatically log in. So it's kind of that single seamless login. They can access it that way from home, among other things like the time clock and then other resources available specific to employees on here on the public facing side.
So you mentioned going to .gov. So are we still, everything is .com always going to work, or is there eventually going to be a time where we have to say .gov?
I think for now, .com is going to work. We haven't really made a plan for it to phase out. .com, ci.vacaville.ca.us, there's a handful of them that we'll continue to maintain for some time, in part because we've given out so many resources over time that connect back to those, so they still work. Some of the friendly URLs, so as you can see up here, the government/human resources/employee central, some of those friendly URLs are probably broken, but the root CityofVacaville.com will still work.
All right, thank you very much.
Vice Mayor Chapman.
Thank you. Thank you for the update on the status of our website. A couple of questions. Notifications. Say, for instance, in the police department, there is an emergency and a road, they had to shut a road down, like Peabody. I was coming in 2 weeks ago in the evening, and there was an accident. You get up to the crest of the hill, and then they're detouring you to go through that development. But anyway, it was a mess. It was awful. So having to get back to Bandon, which many of us couldn't, we had to go to I-80 to come up and come in. With notifications available now, I get them on my phone for different things. Are we able, say the police department can post detour, emergency, take a different route, shut down, and that can be a blast, not a blast, but because I've received automatic notifications, then I would receive that notification of that detour or the accident. Is that a possibility? Is it available? Can it be done? It is something that would really help the residents of Vacaville.
So unfortunately, it can't be done through the website. That's not a feature that we set up. We do have Everbridge, which is the Alert Solano platform that also integrates with Nixle. We have a neighboring city that uses Nixle a lot to notify people of different things that are happening within their community, if different streets are shut down. I think we have taken a more conservative approach here, and mostly from the place of we want to ensure that because it's an opt-in, that people are not opting out and then missing really, really important emergency notifications like, there's a fire heading towards your house, you need to evacuate type of notifications. So we've taken a really conservative approach on that. The police department in dispatch really kind of works with that Nixle environment. And that would probably be a better question is operationally of whether that's something that they would consider or if there's a different level, where it's rerouting someone way around town because it's completely shut down versus one of our neighboring cities, it's just like a single street and they're notifying. So kind of trying to figure out if that's something that makes sense for staff and if we have the capacity to kind of do it once and continue doing it and what that looks like.
No, it's yours. It's yours. You stop pointing me up.
This for Rotary, somebody would know something. Didn't,
No one can hear.
did you get your question answered?
Um, Yes,
You know
so
what,
we have to work directly with the departments on that. And I know I had mentioned that a couple of years ago
Push
because,
technology seems to be more common today, so there might be an opportunity in the future.
oh, okay. All right.
So thank you for the presentation, and we'll be as patient as possible, but it's always difficult to manage the level of data change. People want to have access to the information. They want to make it easy, right? In today's world, people argue with Siri at this point, right? I'm going to open up to the public for any comment. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council. Appreciate the presentation, and it really is important. And I think the other thing to note is the .com, .gov, it's like anything else. The city probably won't ever get rid of the .com because you don't want somebody else to take it, and then it looks like it's a government site. And so some of that's for protection reasons. So appreciate all the work that you and everyone else is doing to make information available. So with that, we'll go ahead and move on to item C.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This next item before you is a variety of actions in our housing plan related to Housing Authority Housing Choice Voucher Program. We have Tamara Colden and Celinda Aguilar Vasquez from the Housing and Community Services Department making the presentation tonight.
Good evening, Mayor Carley, Vice Mayor Chapman, and council members. Tonight, I am presenting the Vacaville Housing Authority 5-year agency plan, the annual agency plan, moving to work supplemental plan, and revisions to the administrative plan. Tonight's action for consideration is for the Housing Authority Board to approve the Vacaville Housing Authority 5-year public housing agency plan, annual public housing agency plan, and moving to work supplemental plan, and revisions to the Vacaville Housing Authority plan to implement administrative policies and updates. The Housing Choice Voucher Program is administered by the Vacaville Housing Authority and is designed to assist very low-income families, elderly and disabled participants find and maintain housing. The Vacaville Housing Authority is currently allocated 1,392 vouchers that allow participants to find housing on their own on the private market. The Vacaville Housing Authority pays out approximately $12.6 million in rental subsidy into the local economy each year for rent payments. As a condition to continue to receive funding, the Vacaville Housing Authority must submit an annual plan each year to discuss the progress made towards the goals of the 5-year agency plan. This year, the Vacaville Housing Authority must also submit the 5-year plan for July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2030. The Vacaville Housing Authority is required to submit an annual moving to work supplemental plan in addition to the annual agency plan. The 5-year and annual plan include responses to all the elements listed here, such as new activities planned for the year and comments from the Resident Advisory Board who have reviewed the plan. In the Moving to Work Supplemental Plan, you will see items listed here and include moving to work waivers and associated activities planned by the Vacaville Housing Authority and public comments to the plan. The plan mirrors what was submitted to HUD last year and includes activities such as triennial recertifications for participants who receive at least 90% of their income from a fixed source and a landlord incentive program that includes combining activities such as establishing a damage claim fund for landlords, vacancy loss payments for non-project-based units, and incentive payments for new units. The Vacaville Housing Authority must adopt an administrative plan that establishes local policies for administration of the Section 8 program in accordance with the Housing and Urban Development HUD requirements. HUD issues program regulations that the Housing Authority must follow, but also allows housing authorities to establish local policies through the administrative plan. The VHA periodically updates the administrative plan as regulations and other circumstances change, when new programs are added, or when clarification of existing policies is needed. The administrative plan revisions include incorporating administrative policies and updates consistent with HUD regulations, following the format of the 2024 Industry Standard Model Administrative Plan, and including versions A and B of Chapters 6, 9, and 11. Other administrative policies and updates include deleting and/or changing language in conformance with the 2024 Industry Standard Model Administrative Plan, updates to code reference and recitals and additions, deletions or updates to exhibits. It also includes correcting or clarifying language, acronyms, and typographical errors, as well as updating policies in accordance with the current practice. In preparation of the plans, the Vacaville Housing Authority held a Resident Advisory Board meeting on February 27th to review and provide comments on the plans. Public outreach was not required for the administrative plan, but was included in the outreach for the plans and was included in the public notice for the 5-year, annual, and MTW plans in the Vacaville Reporter in both English and Spanish. In addition, the plans were made available on the city's website for the public to review for the 45-day public comment period leading up to tonight's hearing. There are no amount of funds requested for this item, as preparation of the plans are included in the operating budget for the housing grants programs. The Housing Authority Board is being asked to hold the required public hearing and, following the public hearing, consider approval of the plans and administrative plan revisions. If approved, the plans and required certifications will be submitted to HUD by the April 17, 2025 deadline. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions or comments from the board or from the public and accept any comments to the plan.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Councilmember Silva.
Thank you for the rundown on the work into this important matter. I know there's been a lot of stuff in the news about cuts. Are we any concern about cuts to federally funded aspects of housing?
Thank you for the question. We too have been receiving calls in the office with clients and landlords who are concerned about what they're hearing about potential cuts to the program. As it stands right now, with the continuing resolution that was passed on March 14th, that is providing continued level funding for the Section 8 program through the end of the federal fiscal year, which is September 30th of this year. And so as of right now, we are not anticipating any cuts to the program as of right now.
Thank you. The only question I had is how many vouchers that are unused at this point?
We have about 200 that are unused.
Okay. And can you explain the reasons why those may not be currently being used?
Thank you for the question. While HUD provides a certain amount of vouchers that are available to the Housing Authority to place under lease each year, the Housing Authority also has to balance that with the amount of funding that HUD makes available to pay for those vouchers. When the per unit cost or average cost for each voucher increases as market rents increase or the fair market's rent increase, that limits how many of those vouchers the Housing Authority is able to use. So while we have vouchers open that are not leased, we're actually using almost 100% of the actual dollars or funding that HUD is providing to pay for vouchers.
Yeah, thank you. Councilmember Wiley.
Thanks for the information and all the work putting into the 5-year plan. Just on the last slide, it said a public hearing. Will this come back to us as a public hearing, or is this?
While HUD uses the term public hearing, really what they mean is a public meeting. So in this format, receiving comment from the public and then incorporating those comments into the plan.
So this meeting meets that requirement?
Correct.
Thank you.
I'll open this up to the public for comment. Seeing none, I'll bring it back. And if there aren't any further comments, do you have a motion? Motion to approve. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. We'll move on to item D.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. This next item before you is a pretty exciting item that we're pleased to present to the council. This is a resident impact data project and Measure M pilot program analysis using technical data. Staff has been working on this particular project for quite a while, and so we have a team here to present to you this update, which will actually be utilized quite a bit at our special study session this upcoming Friday. So with that, I'll turn it over to the team.
Good evening, Mayor Carly, Vice Mayor Chapman, and members of the council. I'm here with Eric Laro, your budget analyst, and Aaron Burnson, a management analyst in the city manager's office, to present an analysis of Measure M pilot programs. In June of 2024, Vacaville was accepted into the Bloomberg Philanthropy City Data Alliance, joining 23 other cities from North, Central, and South America. With the support of coaches from Bloomberg's Center for Government Excellence, your internal data team has spent the last 9 months developing a 3-year citywide data strategy with the overarching goal of growing a values-driven, collaborative, and data-informed culture. There are 5 pillars that form the foundation of the policy, which you'll see on the screen. And while we've been working on the strategy, the data team was also tasked with identifying a resident impact data project that puts our data skills into practice. So with input from the mayor and the city manager, the team decided to conduct an analysis to communicate the impacts of the Measure M pilot programs and their performance, knowing that there's 1 year left of the pilot and knowing that there's also some budget constraints at play. Although there are 3 of us here presenting tonight, I did want to quickly highlight the entire data team that come from a variety of departments and have been working diligently on the data strategy and this analysis, and their work is greatly appreciated. A little bit of background on Measure M. In November 2016, the city of Vacaville community voted to approve a 20-year extension on Measure M, and this extension increased the effective sales tax rate from 1/4 cent to 3/4 cent. And the new sales tax rate went into effect on April 1st, 2018. And these Measure M funds are used for general city services and initiatives. The City Council approved 6 5-year pilot programs and the Council District Benefit Program, also known as district dollars, starting in fiscal year 21-22. That all happened while we were still in the thick of the pandemic and wanted to invest back into the community through programs like the neighborhood cleanup, youth recreation scholarships, and adaptive sensory equipment installation, and also to equip staff with the foundation of understanding related to equity, diversity, and inclusion. This is a snapshot of the program budgets over the last 4 years. And for some programs, you'll see a few tweaks in the dollar amounts. As an example, the youth recreation scholarships were originally budgeted at $100,000 per year, but we quickly learned that there was a greater need within the community. I will now hand off the presentation to Eric Laro to talk to you about the methodology.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the City Council. I'm going to begin with an overview of the methodology utilized to conduct the pilot program analysis. Our team used a combination of census data and internal data exported from city software, such as CivicRec for recreation-related activities, Munis for financial information, and the Geographic Information System for spatial and physical location data. We geocoded addresses to establish real-world locations that were then plotted on a map of the city's boundary with election districts. Our GIS manager then ran a density estimation based on total records or dollar amounts associated with those locations to generate heat maps, which you'll see further into our presentation. These maps use color to display areas of higher concentration, either representing more dollars spent or more program occurrences in order to visualize where Measure M pilot program resources were allocated. Once the methodology was established and data was entered, our team then analyzed this data by comparing the generated heat maps to census block group data of various target demographics that were intended to be served by the Measure M pilot programs. With the help of the Bloomberg Philanthropies team, an economic vulnerability map was created based on various criteria such as income levels, crowded housing, overburdened homeowners and renters, employment rates, and labor force participation. These metrics were constructed for every county in California, then the Vacaville districts were given scores equal to their percentile score in the county metric distribution. The map on the left displays the economic factors mentioned on the previous slide layered together to visually represent areas of the city most impacted by these economic conditions. The darker the color, the higher the concentration of residents considered economically vulnerable. As we move deeper into our analysis, we have pulled individual layers when appropriate to best represent the target populations for specific programs. The map on the right is a visual representation of Vacaville's population density. This becomes important when looking at the subsequent maps, as there may be some areas where it appears that heat is not displayed on the maps, but it may just be a non-residential region of the city. The first pilot program we'll go over tonight is the Low Income Youth Recreation Scholarship. In fiscal year 2022, this program was originally allocated $100,000, which was later increased due to demand to $130,000 in Measure M funding. And then the funding was further increased again to $150,000 for each subsequent fiscal year. In total, there have been 552 scholarships awarded since inception up to December 31st of 2024. The average age of scholarship participants is 10 years old, and scholarships have been utilized to participate in a wide variety of recreational programs. 50% of scholarship recipients use their funds for athletic programs such as sports, aquatics, and gymnastics. 14% participated in art, culture, and music. 12% of funds went to summer camp registrations, and 11% assisted families with before and after school, as well as preschool program costs. In total, $550,778 have been utilized for this program. For the visualization of the recreation scholarship data, we chose to use census data indicating where residents earning below the county's median income household income of approximately $100,000 reside, as this closely coincides with the program's eligibility requirements. On the left, you'll see a higher concentration of this population in districts 3, 4, and 5. On the right is a heat map of scholarship recipients based on city-collected data, which shows the general area of where scholarship awardees reside. The darker colored areas represent higher numbers of awarded scholarships. An insight we can draw from this map is that while scholarship awards have been widespread throughout most of the populated regions of the city, the highest concentration of scholarships awarded have been in districts 3, 4, and 5. And we wanted to include a testimonial from a scholarship recipient that hopefully communicates the impact this program has had on residents receiving assistance. This awardee said, "My family and I are incredibly grateful for the youth recreation scholarships. They have allowed my 3 kids to participate in meaningful recreation activities and camps that have greatly contributed to their emotional, mental, and physical well-being, opportunities we wouldn't have been able to provide otherwise. Thanks to these scholarships, my daughter has learned ballet and how to play sports. My oldest son has gained self-defense skills through karate, learned to code, and run cross country. My youngest has developed essential classroom skills and learned how to interact with other children. And now my oldest swims like a fish. We're still working on the other 2. These scholarships are truly life-changing, and I am forever grateful." The next pilot program is the Adaptive Sensory Park Equipment Program. This program was allocated $50,000 in fiscal year 2022 and again in fiscal year 2023 for a total of $100,000 in Measure M funding. In fiscal year 2024, upon staff recommendation, the council determined that future park improvement projects should include budget for these amenities in their regular construction plans, and no further Measure M funding has been allocated toward this program, and instead was reallocated to fund the demand of the recreation scholarship. Adaptive sensory equipment is designed to encourage social, motor, cognitive, and sensory stimulation, and often includes elements of cooperation, problem-solving, balance, coordination, and imaginative play to provide exciting and fun ways for children to advance crucial developmental skills. The final budget for this program is planned to be utilized for the Sierra Vista Neighborhood Park Improvement Project and will include amenities such as a face-to-face friendship swing and a Rhapsody goblet drum, both pictured on this slide. With that, I will pass the presentation along to Erin Burnson to continue with the Neighborhood Cleanup Program.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the council. The Neighborhood Cleanup Program is a biannual event designed to bring together residents and city employees to help those in need of a helping hand through actions such as yard and accumulation cleanup, fence repairs, exterior painting, and other exterior home improvements. This program is about making a positive difference in the lives of those who live in the home, their neighborhoods, and the city as a whole. To date, $300,000 has been allocated to this pilot program, with $194,000 spent on 120 homes, and each event brings out anywhere from 60 to 87 volunteers. So far, we've completed 7 cleanups in 4 of the 6 districts, with the first cleanup in District 2 scheduled for Saturday, March 29th. These cleanups are designed to target our most vulnerable neighborhoods, and homeowners and renters tend to be overburdened, meaning that more than 30% of their income is spent on rent or mortgage payments in these areas. As you can see on our neighborhood cleanup map, the selected neighborhoods tend to cross districts, and when compared to our overburdened homeowner and renter maps, the cleanup efforts align with Vacaville's more overburdened districts. There are some outliers, such as Browns Valley, where larger and more expensive homes tend to be better taken care of, but still represent a higher proportion of mortgage or rent payments. Volunteers have performed impressive feats at these events, removing over 196.37 tons of waste, 195 tires, laying 251.5 cubic yards of bark, rock, gravel, or decomposed gravel, having 8 broken down vehicles removed, replacing 773 fence boards, and planting 743 plants. The city has also implemented a property abatement program to help improve homes and neighborhoods. This program has been implemented by code enforcement, who works closely with the police department and city attorney's office when needed to correct situations that could cause health and/or safety concerns for the community. Between fiscal years 22 and 25, this program has had $170,000 allocated to it, with $66,351 spent. With a program such as this, it is difficult to know how much each abatement will cost, as each home has its own unique circumstances and requires different levels of intervention, making costs unpredictable. To date, the program has positively impacted 22 Vacaville homes and neighborhoods, providing services such as homeowner or rental accommodations and a motel when the situation necessitated it, interior and exterior accumulation and biohazard cleanup, boarding up of empty properties to prevent break-ins and squatters, graffiti cleanup, rock landscaping, tree trimming, and weed abatement. The map on the right shows the number of properties that this program has abated in each district. As you can see, each district, whether a homeowner or renter, has benefited this program. Next, we want to show some examples of the tremendous positive impacts that this program has had on both the neighborhoods and property owners. In this first example, the home was a rental. The renter allowed unhoused to move in with him. Then the renter passed away, as well as the homeowner, and the house was taken over by unhoused squatting in it. This property required significant weed abatement, trash accumulation cleanup, as well as biohazard cleanup and sanitation. Once the cleanup was completed, the property was boarded up to stop squatters from accessing it, which has also helped decrease crime in the area. In the next example, the home was a single unit in a fourplex that had multiple complaints filed against it due to strong odors. The property required hazardous waste removal, biohazard cleanup, and sanitation. Once the property was habitable again, it prompted the owner to invest in the units, making further improvements. The final example is one where a veteran with mental health problems inherited the home. He was unable to keep up with the home's needs as well as utility payments, causing the home to become uninhabitable. The police department's crew worked with the VA to find first temporary and then long-term housing for the homeowner. Garbage accumulation was removed in and around the property, biohazard cleanup and sanitation performed, and the property was boarded up for security purposes, which has also helped reduce crime in the neighborhood. The next pilot program we want to discuss is the grant matching program. Through this program, Measure M funds are set aside for grants that the city is awarded that have requirements for fund matching. The first grant match was for a park improvement project at the archery range located in Lagoon Valley Park. Site improvements include reorientation of the site layout, new targets and bow stands, improved parking, added landscaping. Construction was completed in January of 2025. This was a 25% local grant match requirement awarded by the California Department of Parks and Recreation. Next, the Assistance to Firefighters Grant is a federal grant awarded through FEMA with a 10% local grant match requirement. This grant provided funding for the city to send 6 firefighters to paramedic school, as well as funding to backfill their positions while they were at school, ensuring no staff shortages were experienced due to the training. Next, the Peña Adobe Pond Restoration Grant is a 50% local grant match requirement awarded through the California Department of Parks and Rec. This grant is focused on reestablishing the seasonal pond at Peña Adobe, which dried up due to drought conditions. These funds will be used to clean the pond area out, line it, and refill it. Finally, the Digital Literacy Grant Program is focused on improving the computer lab at the Senior Center, and it includes funding for a program that will teach seniors how to use technology. For those that complete the program and meet eligibility requirements, they will receive a computer tablet to keep for personal use. This is an 18% local grant match requirement awarded through the California Public Utilities Commission. Next, Georgianne will discuss the final 2 pilot programs.
Thanks, Erin. So goal 5 of the strategic plan is to promote community engagement and increased equity and inclusion. And the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Pilot Program, or EDI for short, was developed to help with that effort. In 2022, we hosted 2 community policing forums as part of a comprehensive police department audit. And the goal was really to provide an inclusive space for residents to share their perspectives and feel heard while building trust and relationships between citizens and those sworn to protect them. Also in 2022, we held a city council study session on EDI, and between 2022 and 23, we held a series of workshops for all of our full-time staff with specific sessions for department heads and our public safety departments. Some of the key themes in those workshops included developing an awareness and common language of EDI, the importance of valuing and supporting different perspectives and backgrounds, and ensuring we're aligned across departments and serving the diverse needs of our community. The council, sorry, got ahead of myself there. The council district benefit program, or district dollars, has been allocated $1.4 million to date, and almost $923,000 has been spent. Each district and the at-large mayor receive $50,000 annually to provide positive community benefits through public facility and park improvements, neighborhood improvements, and community events, programs, and services. Just wanted to share some highlights of the district dollar investments with you by the categories I just mentioned. These are not all-inclusive lists, but really just highlight some of the citywide programs and services that have benefited from the program, including senior meals, Lemonade Day, Hometown Hero program, and the SPCA and Summer at City Hall, just to name a few. For city parks, which also received a significant investment through district dollars, we had improvements at Play for All Park, shade structures at Centennial and Arlington Park were both installed. We had soccer goals installed, along with some much needed painting and improvements at Keating Park, including this lovely monument sign that was much needed. Investments in facility improvements positively impacted the Mariposa Neighborhood Center, Fairmont Charter Elementary School, and the Graham Aquatic Center. And neighborhood improvements and program investments included things like the Vacaville Neighborhood Associations, which I'm proud to say we have now 13 of those active, multiple spring spruce up days, and adding art to our downtown, including Touch the Sky that you see there on the School Street Bridge. Over the 4 years to date, almost $923,000 has been invested. We wanted to graphically show the breakdown by category of how these funds were utilized. A heat map really didn't make sense for this one. Park improvements received the largest investment of over $314,000, or 34%. Followed by programs and services at $293,000, or 32%. And facility and neighborhood improvements follow, as you can see on the pie chart. And in each category, really much of the funding was related to improvements and programs that benefit the broader Vacaville community, which was really the intent of the program. What's next? The data team will be finalizing the data strategy in the next few months, and we'll continue to share it with staff so that we can continue to strengthen our use of data to inform decision-making and drive program improvements and outcomes for the community. One of the key ways we'll do that is through ensuring we're collecting quality data on the points we want to track and measure so that we can draw insights, identify trends, outcomes, opportunities to improve, and that we can bring those back and share them with you. The Measure and Pilot programs align with all 5 of the city's strategic plan goals. No action is required for this item. It's really just informational, knowing that you're moving into priority setting session and budget discussions at your future meetings, and we're happy to take your comments or questions.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation and also the work behind the scenes. There's many times we talk about wanting data to be informed. Sometimes we use it and we don't necessarily understand, how to contrast data for decisions. This program was a no-cost program to the city other than city's time. And it is a benefit, especially since I know on the council, several of us oftentimes say, is there data to inform our decisions? So through Bloomberg Philanthropies, Johns Hopkins University, there's a lot of data that we saw through the pandemic tracking information. And Bloomberg himself was like, come to me with solutions, but bring the data to support what you're intending to do. So it really is great that we have been able to have the coaches at no cost to us and to staff. But the fact that we can look at something and see impact and effectiveness, this is exactly what I am encouraging us as a council to be able to look at data, and so that we can explain to the public how funds are spent and how policies inform us. And so moving forward, just like this Measure M impact project, it helps us to see how effective is something, not just how good do we feel about something that we've done. And so I really do appreciate it. Councilmember Silva?
Yeah, thank you. Can you run through the city data analysis, the Bloomberg philanthropic approaches to governance, quality, use, capacity, transparency, and with respect to like how's that I'm not quite clear on how that connects to each of these items that's here.
Sure. The pillars of the data strategy.
Yeah, so it says 3 years citywide data strategy, 5 pillars, those 5 items, on how that relates to
sure. Yeah.
Why Measure M.
Well, so we are working, the data team is working on that 3-year data strategy. We're not 100% done with that, but it is based on these 5 pillars: governance, quality, use, capacity, and transparency. We talked a little bit about, I think on my last slide, really, having quality data. So making sure we're tracking and collecting, storing all of the right information, the information that we want to use to form our decisions. Capacity is really our internal workforce capacity. So whether or not we have the skills needed to really dig into the data and analyze it as we'd like to, and building that culture of data here within the city and our workforce. And then transparency, really taking the data, using our analysis, and then sharing it out with the public and with the council. So that's really, and governance would be, the overall structure of the data strategy and how we affect it internally. So that's really that. And then as an outcome, or it was actually a requirement of the data strategy project initiative, is really that we needed to choose a resident impact data project to use to analyze some data and put our what we've learned into practice. And so in conversations with the mayor and the city manager, one of the things we knew, we hadn't really necessarily done a full comprehensive analysis of the 5-year pilot programs. We have reported occasionally on outcomes of them, but not really as a whole. So we thought that that was a really good opportunity to bring some of that data and analysis back to council. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Well, it sounds like it's a work in progress and how we make it fit.
Absolutely.
That it's just anytime I see these type of frameworks, I'm just naturally interested in other stuff I'm passionate about. Just a quick comment, since I'll save off time at the end, but I really appreciate the feedback on the scholarship programs. I know that's hugely impacted to some of our most families that appreciate it the most. So appreciate that.
Councilmember Wiley.
Thank you for the information. And we're talking about data. So the question I had when you were talking about how many people used it or whatever, and then you showed the real life example of the family. So I was going to ask, so are those individual kids, or like would a family count as one on your data when you said this many people were involved? And if someone was used it for more than once, did they count more than once, or could they only use it one time, or how did they, you had to ask for a specific amount for one program?
Yeah, so the number shared, the 552 scholarships, that is not unduplicated. So if they received a scholarship in 2021 and again in 2023, that counts as 2 awards. And if there's a family with multiple children receiving scholarship awards, each child counts as an individual scholarship within that. So if there was 3 kids within one family, they're counted as 3 scholarship awardees in this data.
So if a family asked for multiple things, I mean, was there a limit, or did you say only X amount per family, or until whoever applied until the money ran out?
Yes, so the limit is up to $1,000 per child. And in the first year, it was administered where the full $1,000 would be credited to the account. We've since tweaked that to where now you're approved for up to $1,000, but you're credited for when you register for the program. So however many programs they can register up to $1,000 while funds are still available, they're awarded.
Okay, thanks. And then my other question, because this is all under Measure M, impact of Measure M, pilot program analysis, you might not know this answer, but the money that we're looking at here on these pilot programs, what % is that of the overall Measure M income?
I do not have that answer for you right now. Sorry.
Okay, I'd like to know it sometime.
Sure, absolutely. We can get that for you.
Thanks.
Vice Mayor Chapman.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. And just to add to the question, to your response to Councilmember Silva in regards to the Bloomberg's go back to
5
that slide.
pillars.
I interpret this because it's at the top, it's in the title, philanthropy. And anytime you're applying for funds, they're looking at this. They're looking at those 5 pillars. And so that also validates and shared the importance of gathering data. Outsiders are looking at that. How are we governing? How are we relating to the community? Are they engaged? Are they aware? The quality of our services. What type of decisions are we making? And is it really going toward what our own goals are and our long-term plan and all that? So anyway, data, when I came on, I was seeking data. I wanted to know more about, okay, how do you come up with this? And then comparing data that's being presented today with maybe 2 years prior to. Come on, what's the correlation? What am I gaining? What am I supposed to get from this? So just wanted to add to the importance of gathering
It is important because sometimes if our data is inaccurate, then our models that we're looking at that are informing us for the decisions, and then if we don't confirm after the fact and evaluate, we don't really know how effective something is. And sometimes that's what's wrong, right? So good point. Yeah. I believe Councilmember Stockton, I think you were next. Yes.
I just wanted to request that you email me a copy of this before we have our priority session of just the PowerPoint.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be good to send it out there. We'll be discussing this on Friday. So, Councilmember Silva.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, the concept about data, there's both qualitative and quantitative data. Are there ways that we are quantifying the qualitative? And I imagine that's probably, I feel that it's going to be part of the discussion on Friday. So qualitative data is data as well. So I'm kind of curious to see how we're quantifying that. If we don't have that answer now, I guess we'll talk about it in the future.
Not sure I have that exact answer for you right now.
Thank you.
All good questions. And I think the key here is the program is really designed, the City Data Alliance is designed to have good governance. And so those are the pillars, and to have staff looking at solutions based upon a city council's direction and how to achieve what the outcomes are of a council. And you do it, there's going to be qualitative and quantitative, but we have to make sure that we're looking at the information that's informing us correctly. And so part of the pillars from a City Data Alliance city is if there isn't capacity in the organization, then maybe we need to get it, right? There's experts, there's data scientists. We don't have a data scientist, but when you speak to someone, you realize there's a lot of value in information if it can be modeled, right? And I don't know if you have any more comments on that.
I will just add that we were also recently accepted into another Bloomberg Philanthropies program. It's called the Evaluation Track. These two lovely people here will be working on that, as well as some other folks, where we will be getting actually some hands-on tools and resources in actually how to use the data. I mean, we don't have a data scientist or a data analyst on staff right now, but our team will be getting some of those some education and training on some of those tools and resources. So it'll be great. And we will continue to use the data that we have to evaluate projects, programs, and things to come.
And thank you for that. I'm going to open up to the public if anyone wishes to comment. Seeing none, go ahead and bring it back to the council. Oh, sorry. Yes, come forward. I scanned the room once. I apologize. Good evening.
More of a question, but you had made reference to DEI programs and going on since before the Trump administration came in. So I guess my question is, are they forced, is Bloomberg forced to eliminate that segment of your program? Or where does that sit now that the federal government is requiring that all of that be erased? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Seeing no one else, I'll go ahead and bring it back. And you may be able to answer that question. If not, I'll attempt to explain it.
Right. I was just going to, we don't have any federal dollars going towards the program, so it wouldn't be impacted by the Trump administration.
That's a fair assessment. This is simply, it's a data strategy for helping cities. It's not a program that's funded, so there's no connection to this. If the city has a DEI program, that's a prerogative of council, and that's the direction of the prior council before I was on, and it's part of the strategic plan. We'll be moving into a new strategic plan this year, but the goal of this was an impact study and to look at Measure M and the spending. And so there was Measure M spending, which is not federal dollars, but it is local dollars. So yeah, thank you very much, and look forward to the next track. And the goal of us also as a council is to be more informed with the data to better understand the decisions we're making. So appreciate it. With that, Mr. City Manager, we'll move on to the next item.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. This final item before you tonight is the consideration and selection of Planning and Parks and Recreation Commissioners. As the council is aware, we have two operational commissions here in the city of Vacaville, the Planning Commission and the Parks and Recreation Commissions. Members are appointed on staggered terms expiring March 31st of each year. And so this is a normal practice before the council to appoint these commissioners. At your most recent meeting on March 11th, the council discussed and approved a new appointment policy. And so tonight we're before you with the results of that application process. As you are aware, the mayor has selected appointees for each of the commissions, and those are included in your staff report. So tonight what we need to have occur is the council has before them the appointments. So we will need to open it up for comment, but ultimately the city council needs to ratify each of the recommended appointments so we can go ahead and fulfill our appointments to those two commissions. So with that, I'll turn it over to the mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much. I've really looked at the process of this endeavor that we've gone through and tried to make this about city business. And ultimately, it wasn't personal how we got here. It was really about the process. Now that I've had the opportunity to receive the various applications for either appointment or reappointment, I appreciate staff's input and those who have served within the city, both as, say, former commissioners and or staff such as, Aaron Morris, working with the Planning Commission. And for Bruce, you're now here, but up till now, a lot of this was on you, Georgianne. And so I had the opportunity to speak with both of you to understand, to conduct the city's business. How are our commissions working and functioning? I've had the experience of watching, for everyone who's been on them, I watch them like most people do to understand the business before it comes here. And it's really exciting to see new people wanting to join commissions. or committees. There's a lot of times people approach us as a council and ask, hey, how can we serve? And it's neat to see that. And so our appointment process is every 2 years. Some cities are every 4 years, but as I've discussed with other, former commissioners, sometimes a 4-year commitment is too difficult to commit to, and then there's too much turnover. And in some cases, you want to maintain some continuity moving forward while giving opportunities to new commissioners to help the city conduct business and be engaged. And so for that reason, I went through the process, through the screening and interviewing. And these are for the Parks and Rec Commission. The reappointment, actually it wasn't a reappointment, it was an appointment for Brandon Klein to join the Parks and Rec Commission and no longer serve on the Planning Commission. And Rich Kelsey and also Emily Gollinger. And everyone saw the applications were attached to the packet so that it was open for public transparency. And so my desire is coming here. So if there are any questions, concerns as far as qualifications, this would be a time to discuss them. And then also for the Planning Commission, a reappointment of Ashley Banta. Thank you for your time on the commission, and also Noah Vargas. And Joe Dingman is a new addition to the Planning Commission. I know he's not able to make it here tonight, but he's given a lot of public service in the military and also in the community. So with that, I'll open it up to any discussion that the council may have or questions. Councilmember Silva.
Yeah, thank you. So I respect respect the council's decision to, allow the mayor, the mayor to go through the applications and, whatever process that you chose. That's what the council decided. So I'm not, I'm not here to like oppose it. Obviously, everybody knows I opposed it because, even like the previous presentation highlighted that we have this area in town that in itself is significantly economically disadvantaged. And out of these 6 appointments, respectively, not one of them lives or resides within that area. And I think one of the challenges that we have when we talk about transparency as one of these pillars for philanthropy is in how do we ensure that we have, again, a more diverse representation throughout the city. And in that, that when we have these discussions based on city's council's policies, that there's these different perspectives brought in there to enrich it. And I think the more that we have like what we call this groupthink process of where people think very similarly or rubber stamp everything, we lose the essence and the power that democracy has within creating a robust, vibrant community. And so in that, like, when I'm hearing like we want, this is the law, this is the process for law. Okay, council, I think decided that. I mean, two folks, I don't quite know where they stand or why I should say. And then beyond that, when we say we want the best of the best, I'm just curious from your process and when you interviewed the applicants, when we have like former commissioners, what was like part of that process? Because to me, like if you're a former commissioner, you have experience within that field.
Well, absolutely. I will tell you that it's not a process with a rubric. It's a process of understanding people's lived experience, qualifications. In some cases, it could be business experience, business acumen. The commissions are there to help guide our staff in the directions, whether it's policies or projects that are in front of the city for action. You can really see this on the Planning Commission. And there's no doubt there is a need for those with varied backgrounds and experience. And the goal is also to have a cohesive working commission that can work together and help each other understand it. So it isn't something that you can simply point to every time and say this person meets this, so therefore this person is the most qualified. In some cases, they may be the most knowledgeable about particular things because of their background. The qualifications of serving on a commission is to be able to digest the comprehensive issues that are before them. Sometimes it's the challenges of setting priorities for parks, if it's Parks and Rec. On Planning Commission, it could be what is the land use and zoning. So there's a lot of homework to do in advance. And so some of it has to be, there's interest, for those who want to serve. And in some cases, this isn't about like the most, who is the most qualified in all cases, who can show the qualifications, who also has a desire. And sometimes it is time to just allow new people to join a commission and join a team of experienced commissioners so that over time there is transition. So I will tell you that I don't discount what you're saying as far as having someone with an experience because they live in a certain area. But very few things will come to those commissions that are going to be about the opinion, about a lived experience in an area. And if it is, the desire should be that our staff will make sure that there's an understanding about a problem or a challenge in a particular neighborhood or a park or a business setting so that they can make a collective informed decision by questioning whether it's a public hearing or questioning staff to provide the information. So all that, I've said before that this council is what demonstrates the diverse ideas, views, and opinions and lived experience and voted by the public by districts, which I support. So for that reason, there isn't necessarily a list that says this is the most qualified person, the next most qualified. It's a variety of lived experience that can provide feedback to the council and to staff through their decisions on conducting business. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, it's your process.
Yeah, just sharing it. And I did speak, I mean, listen, with the Planning Commission, it's not hard to hear things just the way we do, and in some cases have conversations and meetings with people who are in the development world to understand, is our commission business and process working well? And that just helps to inform some things sometimes. Councilmember Wiley.
I also had a few questions about this as well. I was really excited to see that there were 25 applicants. That's really, people are interested in helping their city, whether it's on planning or Parks and Rec. So that's great that we had 25 applicants. And we talked a little bit about the application itself before we sent it out and tried to tweak it. So I guess I'm just kind of surprised that the application was so well-rounded that you got a feel for their lived experiences. It's because you kept saying their lived experiences is how you determined it. So did you make your decision based on just the interview, I mean, the applications, or you did talk to some people, but not all people? So can you kind of give me a little bit of information about how the lived experience was derived at?
Some of it's through the application, some of it's through resumes and their work experience, and there's information you can glean from that. That often, in my case, it leads to conversations in interviews to get a perspective of candidates who both have a desire, who have an aptitude, understand that there's a business side to this. It's not like somebody who wants to be on Parks and Rec because they have children and they just want to serve in a Parks and Rec environment. It's someone who may have children in activities, but the goal is to further the city's business and the council's direction. And so looking at that kind of business acumen is really good to have on commissions. There's other committees that I appoint with a very similar process, and over the course of my career, I've hired a lot of people and done a lot of interviews. And so I use that experience in that world as it applies to whether it's any committee or any appointment that's outside of this council.
I totally understand about, not wanting to have someone that's just focused on one thing, like I play ball and I want a traveling league or something like that. Because when we were choosing board members for the school district, you want someone that looks at everyone's child, or even the people that don't have children, just so you can get the best well-rounded person. I'm a little concerned that people, when they apply, those 25 people, they didn't know what the process was because we changed the process, I think, after the application was open. So I think that was a little unfortunate that it wasn't done that way. And so as part of the process, and I'd ask about this, the people that weren't selected will be notified, I think, by the city clerk's office. And so I just wondered, since it's not official, so did anyone get contacted, or will they just get contacted after this meeting to say, you weren't selected? Was there, so?
Yeah, there's no reason to contact anyone beforehand because the action of this council is the final say. So it would be inappropriate for me to make any assumption.
But the people that you were putting forward, you let them know that you were putting them
Yes,
forward?
so that they would know, and if they were able to appear. Not everybody is able or able to be here tonight, but if they wanted to, at least they knew that their name was going to be put forward as part of the packet, in addition to everyone's application, that their names would be listed there, so that on this business item, you would all know in advance. And so that's the process, but I have not notified, I haven't notified a list of people who have not been put forward, because the action isn't over until tonight's action is.
Right, and I guess since it was public in the agenda, if their name is not on here, then they would know I'm not on this agenda right now.
Right, and it doesn't make the list invalid. It just means that there's a valid list, and like our policy says, post tonight, if subject to your ratification, the list is still good. The list is still available for a period of time, and that part of the policy doesn't change.
So I'll just, want my last comment, on the process paper, one of them said, transparency. So to me, it's not real transparent. So here's our 6 people we're putting forward, and we're voting on those when we didn't have much other thing but the written application. But that's the process that the majority approved. So that's the process that we're following. But those are my comments.
Thank you. Councilmember Silva.
Yeah, one thing I just want to clarify, because it came up in questioning during one of the discussions about if we would have access to the applications. And so that was an interesting thing to see that play out, because I had emailed the city clerk the Saturday after of our decision on council, and so I don't expect city clerk to work weekends. And I think it went out, the email that when I received it was on Wednesday evening, that or council as a whole can access the hard copies of the applications in the office, but that they would be posted as an attachment to the agenda. I just found that interesting as an approach, because and I don't know if there's some clarification as far as that goes, maybe from the city attorney on what process that was involved in that, because particularly like for me, when we talk about I've mentioned the concept of groupthink, where everybody's you have certain folks that strategize on how to navigate what we want to see in a representation at all levels. That allows for the opportunity for example, in this case, someone in the position of the mayor to communicate with those within the Brown Act to others, but not any other, to not have any input in others, unless a commissioner puts somebody as a reference, a personal reference on their application. So I just want to clarify, like, why is it that council can have access to those applications when the mayor does?
Do you want to answer, or do you want me to just share what happened?
Well, I figured it was a legal matter, to my understanding, or a policy. Legal policy.
I think it'll help you just to hear from me. I made the request to have hard copies, and the entire council can have them. The concern I have is more because, and I'll just say my personnel background is as a chief of police and the hiring manager within a department. I viewed the whole packet in the process initially without legal consideration. It was more of a direction that I believe it's like a personnel application going to the public. It would make more sense. HR doesn't send out personnel applications to make a public record. And so for the protection of future public records, I believe that it would be in the best interest to treat it's an officer of the city, to treat it like an employee, but not to keep it from the council, because you would all want to be able to see everything, because you're the ratification body. Through further discussion, and Melinda, you can probably clarify this, is that it would be a public record, and therefore it needs to go out. And so it did. So it wasn't an attempt to not make it transparent. It was very clear that I said everyone on the council needs to see it. It was the procedure of in hard copy inside versus emailing it out, and now everything is out for distribution. So that piece of it was clarified, but it wasn't an intent not to be transparent.
So I guess, and I don't go too far into this, but I believe we are emailed confidential emails at times. And those we are required to keep confidential. Is there a difference with this approach than that at a certain time point? So is it possible to email either confidential?
And I think, good question. I think that part of this is a transition into the process. And so,
yeah, absolutely.
Right. And this particular process was to understand this now becomes a record and it's a permanent record. And so my initial thought was, if there is an application pool of, what was it, 25? To simply distribute 25 resumes and applications to a staff report when there's only 6 people being Yeah, I mean, they've applied and they've got all kinds of information, although it's public, but from a personnel action, I was simply looking at that from protecting the interest of people who would not be selected. A good example, there's a lot of people who are going to apply for your job. We don't attach everyone who's going to somehow then be considered by the council. There's certain confidential public records. And so the mindset I had was not trying to keep it from the council or the public, but there's 25 applications that went to the public versus the 6 that I'm looking to appoint. So the thought process was not to not be transparent. It was to protect the interests of the people who are applying and to make sure that that doesn't somehow create information that's out there permanently as a permanent record that otherwise would never be published. Most people would never publish all their personal information and their resume for the world to have forever. And we do that because we make it a public record. So that was my thought process.
So that was your call, not like the staff's call.
That's right. And so we had the discussion and we went ahead and, for now, working through that. And so it's a good discussion, but Mr. City Manager, you want to comment?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as you mentioned, this is a transition to a new process. And so I think, to simplify things, the way that I looked at this is that based on the direction that the council gave at that last meeting, is that the mayor is to review the applications and appoint subject to council's ratification. So simply a matter of giving as much time to the mayor to go through those applications, to evaluate those, and then so that when the time came to give those all to the council for purposes of looking at all the applications so that you could ratify the decision. Because if you felt differently about the mayor's recommendations for appointment, you had the full list there. And so that goes out with the regular packet like it does all the other attachments in every other staff report, so that's the timing here involved. And that way, it is part of the public record, it is part of the reports and all, but this way, we were trying to get the mayor as much lead time to evaluate the applicants for appointment to present to you tonight. But again, give you enough time as part of the packet that you saw in the report, the recommendations for appointment, and then you had all the other applications so that you could see for purposes of the group that he had to choose from to make the appointments. Now, if there's something different desired in that process, I'm open to suggestions, but in my mind, this was just the simplest, most transparent way to get to that point of appointment and ratification.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Chapman.
Oh, already? One question. How many of the candidates did you were interviewed?
I couldn't tell you right offhand. I'd have to go look through the whole list. I did not interview everyone. I screened candidates.
You just screened, you didn't?
I looked through, and so there are screening that occurs, and some of those discussions don't go to full interviews. I don't have the number off the top of my head.
It's okay. Yeah. I just wondered if their interviews took place.
Councilmember Ritchie.
Thank you. So first and foremost, as I see, I want to make sure, as I see Amanda Radine in the crowd, she was a chair, and she served on the Planning Commission for a great term, and so You will no longer be on the commission, but for at some point, maybe I don't give way too much, but thank you for everything. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I don't peek in the future too much. But yeah, so it's just, you know, I hear everything passionately, and you know, I know 135, and I was in the process the first time through. So, and the mayor has the opportunity. I don't know if, like, 1, 3, and 5, if they connected with the applicants, if they talked to the mayor and able to offer their opinion, advice, or another, you know, there's nothing permits them from not doing another review. So I don't know the process, but when I saw the list, I didn't do that because I'm in District 2, 2, 4, and 6 are next. So I leaned back and allowed the process to go the first round. When I saw the names, I was very happy. As I saw Amanda here, I know she served, and Ashley passionately. Noelle, I've met a few times, but not as well as I know it's Ashley. When I saw the new addition, it made me happy. I've built a relationship with that man. It's amazing to see people step up or return. I know the process, how we got here at 25 applicants, but when I saw the end result, I was very happy on how the process came. So I know there's always gonna be a little bit of how we got there, the process, but the end result, hopefully everyone here, I truly feel that I know they care about the community, the city, and make sure we're all in the right direction with kind of minimal to no bias, but just really sure everyone, all boats rise together. So I seeing the names, I do not know Emily or Rich, so I can't even speak to them, but sorry.
I'll give them an opportunity
I'll say
to
hello,
come forward here in
but
a
yeah,
minute.
full transparency, I don't know. But I do know those names that made me smile because I know they have the right heart. They'll do what's right for the city. So.
Well, with that, I want to go ahead and open it up to the public, but I'd also invite those who are being appointed, if you choose to come forward, especially being new, to introduce yourself. And for those who are being reappointed, certainly love to hear from you as well. So why don't you, if you can come forward and personalize who you are so that this council understands who they would be ratifying.
I'll go first, I guess. Is this on? Yeah. I'm Emily Gollinger. I moved to Vacaville almost 2 years ago, year and a half. I moved here from Rio Vista. And I grew up in Rio Vista, and I served on the Parks and Recreation Commission, and I was the chair of the Parks and Rec Commission in Rio Vista, and I was also a planning commissioner in Rio Vista. I was also the regional commissioner for River Delta AYSO for, I don't know, some obscene amount of years. I have 3 kids. They're all teenagers, so they don't like me anymore. They're 18, 16, and 14. So I love Vacaville. I love it so much. I just happen to live in District 2. No offense, Mr. Ritchie. I just happen to live there. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a citizen of the entire town. I love Vacaville. I love finding all these new nooks and crannies. It's amazing how even after a year and a half, I go onto a street and I'm like, oh, I've never been here before. So I think there's really wonderful opportunity to serve this community and to serve the people in it. So thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Come on up.
Thank you. My name is Ashley Vanta, and thank you for the potential reappointment for Planning Commission. I've been able to serve for the last 2 years as a planning commissioner for this city for all of you. I've learned a lot about the planning process, about the zoning and developing and all of the things. I think I'm pretty strongly an advocate for housing affordability and a voice for a low income population and a renters population. I speak pretty transparent about my lived experiences of being a person that is low income and that has rented and has had a Section 8 voucher and the struggles that 40% of our city have. I think that voice needs to be heard when we're doing planning process. So that I think that's something that I have brought to the table and that I plan to still bring to the table. So if I were to have another 2 years, that would be something that I would continue to bring. So thank you.
Thank you. Noel, you going to come forward? Right.
This is, I have a little bit of PTSD. I did a presentation on street medicine to the County of Sacramento Board of Supervisors today, so a little more laid back. Noel Vargas, Chair, Vice Chair, Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity. I think I'm a voice for everyone in the city of Vacaville. And so I certainly, for my 9-year-old son, I do have some biases, and I do have certainly maybe a hidden agenda on what I would like to see in the scope of Parks and Recreation. I had a conversation with Mayor Carley, and I did have a conversation with Jeanette Wiley as well about some of the things I like to see here in the city of Vacaville, not just from the scope of Parks and Recreation, but growth. I grew up in Winters, California, charming town. Would love to see the city of Vacaville not necessarily model, but certainly have our own unique presence and attraction. And I think we do. And I still love the fact that we are a small town community, even though we're growing in size, but I think we're growing the right way. And I'm really happy to be a part of that if I get that opportunity. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. And any other member of the public who wishes to comment on this, this agenda item? All right, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and bring it back to the council, and I would ask for ratification of these selections for appointment and reappointment. I have a light real quick, Jeanette or Councilmember Wiles.
So I have a question about the other commissions with women and girls. So should I wait till we finish this? Can I still ask that, or should I ask it now?
Let's separate that, and if we can.
Can we ask that after we take a vote?
Yeah, we can. We'll separate that because that is coming. But yes. So we have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, one abstention. All right, thank you very much, and appreciate your continued service in serving on the commission, and welcome aboard. So thank you very much. So you had a question?
Yes. Because we just finished this commission, and before we were looking at these two commissions, we tweaked the application. So we do have a vacancy. We've had over a year for the Solano Commission on Women and Girls. And so I don't know if I want to ask that question. Can we have an application? Can we use theirs? I don't want to spend, 2 meetings on their application and then, a lot of time because we need to fill that vacancy. There's already one person who has filled a vacancy through the commission, but it has to come back to us, and we need to make it all the other women and girls knowledgeable that there is a vacancy and set the time frame. So whatever we can do to get that going is what I want to happen.
So Michelle, could you comment on that?
Yes. So typically in the past, the process with them is that they have done the recruitment, they have their own application, then they forward the received applications for any Vacaville residents to us for consideration. So I have an email into the commission to ask if that is still their process and desire to how to handle it, or if we should be creating our application for this process.
Okay. If it was on their court, they didn't do it. So we just need to I'm glad you've emailed them, and we'll find out. So thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, thank you. We do need to fill that one. So with that, we'll go ahead and move on. And any comments from you, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, if I could, if Mike could pull up our flyer for what will be our 8th Make a Difference Day this weekend. It's been alluded to a couple of times tonight, but this is a unique opportunity for our community to come together this weekend. We will be out in District 2 in the Leisure-Town community. It's a little bit different of event because we're going to be spread out over a variety of different streets as opposed to consolidated in one smaller area, but definitely an area of need. And so we appreciate the council's continued support for this program. We look forward to having you out there. It's not too late to sign up to be a volunteer, so you can go to our webpage or use this QR code. We will have a bit of a little breakfast and then a big barbecue at the end. So we encourage everybody to be there, and thanks to all those that are setting it up and putting all the hard work into this. And again, this will be our 8th event, and we look forward to your support. So thank you.
Thank you very much for that update, and it seems to always be a successful event, and it helps Vacaville, so I appreciate that.
I'm told, because I thought I saw it, but it looked like it was the wrong date. It's this weekend,
Right.
March 29th. That's last year's.
That's right.
So don't go then.
Do you have a question?
Oh, not on this, just council comment.
Okay.
We pulled up our new website, we'd have it right there and it would be ready to go.
Yeah. And we'll move on to the reports of the City Council. Something else you also noticed is an addition. It says 10A. And the reason is for efficiency, this is really the time for when you're sitting on JPAs and you're sitting on meetings that you're supposed to report back. This is the opportunity. Sometimes we go into different directions and speak about the community, but part of what we really need to do is begin to also focus on the business that we're involved in. And so that's why what you'll see under A is update on recent attended boards, commissions, and committee meetings. This is also a way to be more transparent to the public. And since it could be the Greenbelt, it could be different things. And even if there's nothing to report out, just say nothing to report out. It doesn't have to be a comment on everything, but it does create a record in the future for the work that any of you or myself are doing that can give a quick update. Brief and amazing, but enough to give an update. So with that, Vice Mayor Chapman.
Oh, thank you. I have my note here. The Citizens Advisory Committee met last week on site there at the prison, CMF site, and we will be hearing from them at our second meeting in April. Finally was able to connect the two entities, and so they'll be in to give us a nice presentation. And then the other thing, with our upcoming meeting, priority setting meeting, we haven't touched on MLK since the last, for quite some time. And I would like to add that to the agenda, please, Mr. City Manager. Thank you.
All right.
That's all. That's the only meeting I had.
Councilmember Stockton.
Yes, I'll report out from the Cap Solano. We awarded, I believe it was $40,000 to a permanent supportive housing project run by the Lutheran Church Services, I think. Lutheran Social Services. There's a lot of uncertainty as it relates to the funding surrounding Cap Solano's future and many of the different organizations that we work with. We still do have another $40,000 of funds available that are kind of flexible spending. And until we kind of solidify whether or not we're going to continue to receive some of these federal funds, it will be a unique experience to determine where that money goes. And so that being said, I will try to keep the council updated even more so than usual, simply because I anticipate that there will be more difficult decisions in that area that will need to be made. And I would value all of your guidance as it relates to what we do for the city of Vacaville with any funds that we solicit or programs that we want to bring here. On a separate note, we heard during business from the floor a lot of conversation about the new CAL FIRE local responsibility area maps. I have had some brief discussions with the city attorney, and I was just hoping that I may be able to, I don't know if I need a motion or just council's support in letting the city attorney, along with the fire department, explore any sort of options that we may be able to assist the public with. This is a really big deal. This is impacting a multitude of areas throughout Vacaville. It's not just one area. We have some of the communities, and I may have missed some: Cheyenne, Browns Valley, Hillcrest, Shannon Drive, and Centennial, which includes Dairy Circle, the north end of Markham, Dobbins, Vine, Vanden Road, and Lagoon Valley. So several different neighborhoods are going to have potentially increased costs with their fire insurance. I happened to have a conversation with an individual today whose home is worth $750,000. His insurance was dropped, and he was forced to get a separate insurance through a conglomerate called CalFare, where he has to pay $3,500 upfront before he can even get a normal homeowner's policy. He is in a moderate area and not a high-risk area. Many of these locations are now in moderate to high risk. So I would encourage folks to utilize that beautiful brand new website that we got and go to the fire department's website and look at, you can input your address onto that. I believe you go to, put it down here. There's an LRA map. That's what you want to get to. Plug in your address and see what it is. I was surprised to see that the folks at Border Centennial that are impacted by this, I'm curious if there are any methodologies within the city's span of control that may be able to assist all of these folks. I know we've talked about geological abatement districts, like with the Lagoon Valley project. I know that that doesn't apply to this specific circumstance, but I'd be interested to know if there are structures that we may be able to utilize to address maybe some infrastructure or some changes that might be able to assist with the folks that are creating this map, so that in the future, folks that are maybe on the cusp aren't. So I would just like council support in how we might be able to challenge the zones or figure out if there are any sort of methodologies that we could use to assist and help our constituents.
So I would suggest that even from what we heard, I think we all probably wrote something down and we're checking the map as well. Mr. City Manager, can we have a strategy on that? And what's your thoughts? Maybe even a short discussion on Friday, but without any action items. But this is time sensitive.
If I could, our agenda for Friday just got fuller. But we had already planned to present to council on the second meeting in April an update, and we can certainly include, what we can do, what we can't do, what we might be able to do as part of that presentation to council, so that you have a better understanding of the situation that we're currently dealing with.
Just ask it however you can lean into and to get a greater understanding. So as we voice a lot more concerns, I think we're all going to start getting emails and phone calls, and some of us are impacted.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank our Fire Marshal, Jill Childers. She wrote an excellent email today that explained a lot. If council hasn't seen that, definitely check that out. But I really appreciate the thoroughness the fire department is taking with this, even though they have absolutely no input or control over the creation of this map or the impacts that it has. So hopefully we can find some things that we might be able to help with. That's it.
You call on me before you call, and it may go along with what he was just
Okay, go ahead.
talking
Yes,
about.
sure, absolutely.
Thank you. Quick question. Speaking along the same line, there is a green belt. We have a green belt between Dixon and Vacaville, but we don't have anything between Fairfield and Vacaville. And there's Paradise Valley. Oh, we do?
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, I apologize.
But during fire season, it's not great.
That's why I thought about,
Yeah, there is.
that's why I wanted to speak up.
Perfect, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Silva.
Yeah, I think I've already fielded questions on that particular item, so I think I don't kind of want to wait for public information for a month, over a month. So I don't know if it's possible to have something that's more targeted for those that are impacted. Fire. I also
and I would agree. I think we all agree. I'm sure we can touch on this topic on Friday. So this is time sensitive to even understand.
I also need clarification. I think I'm in one of those zones, so I just need clarification if I have to recuse myself. Yeah, I think so. Just by the fuzzy. But those zones are, like, in my opinion, they've been there for PSPS. So I think that's, like, those have already been correlated with the PSPS shutdown for certain spots. But this is anyways, there's other concerns that are coming up. All right, so the reporting out for regarding quality air. Solano County Quality Air Board. There was no meeting for February, so we had one in January and March. March was just more just approving, budget recommendations, how we move forward. The bigger item regarding to quality air, one of the informational pieces is that the trend for Solano County and Yolo County, so there's a combination of part of Solano County and Yolo County where they're constantly looking at different ways to remediate or to help improve our air quality. The main source of particles within our air that diminish our air quality is really from transportation. Nevertheless, that trend has gradually reduced. So I'll try to get the electronic copy to see if City Clerk can share with Council. It's just, to me, it's an interesting little graphic. But the goal is to meet a certain standard set by the state. There's just certain challenges that we face within this region because of predominantly I-80 traffic and just how the wind blows. That said, there are other, there's going to be up to $3 million that'll be considered for grants to go back to help address clean air projects, depending on that wide variety from Solano to Yolo County. And rest assured that I did, from before we even approved it, put in a plug for some things that city staff recommended or suggested that they needed some help with based on the allocation of funds. So I forwarded that information to staff to see fit of what they felt they can apply to hopefully tap into some of those funds. And thank you. Oh, sorry. Sorry, sure, I forgot. I think it's more appropriate for this particular spot, but commissioners, again, they step up. It's not a full-time job. It's not even a part-time paid job. So a lot of folks, welcome to Vacaville and welcome to the commission. So I think it's quite often it can be a thankless position and a criticized position. But I think that collectively, it is an important role to help ensure that we have robust conversations about whatever topics that are brought forth and help advise us on making decisions and help streamline that democratic process. So that said, I absolutely want to thank Mary Vasquez and Danielle Shea for their service on the commission. I think in the past it's kind of been this weird transition. We're just kind of move forward. I know we've got a former commissioner here that again, it takes a lot of time, and I think part of it is that people want to feel value in what they put time into that. So absolutely appreciate the time that you all do put in, and definitely keep finding different ways to give back to our community. So appreciate that effort.
Councilmember Wylie.
I would just say, I follow up on that and say, I met Ms. Grollinger at that cleanup day. We were talking about the cleanup day, the one that was really cold and really rainy about 3 times ago. And so she showed up in a raincoat with her husband, I think. And so I welcome to Vacaville. She dove right in. So you'll be on the commission now. So good for you. Keep volunteering. I've got one in my neighborhood coming up. So, and then I will say, I also, as my duty, I went to the TRAF meeting, which is Travis Regional Armed Forces Committee, a week ago. And we had 2 speakers that talked about helping the people in need on the base. And then the other one was about the transition, because Travis Unified School is moving 6th grade to the base from the elementary schools. And that will affect the people in my neighborhood because Foxborough and Cambridge are really overcrowded. So by moving the 6th grade to new buildings going up out there, that will help out a lot. So if you go by Golden West, you have to go up Dobie Road. So you wouldn't see it on Peabody, but they will be doing that to be in place by August. And Vice Mayor Chapman talked about the meeting for the Citizens Advisory. I happened to go because we were invited. There was also a graduation that day. And it was just heartwarming to see the people that had life convictions who've been through this extensive program, and then they're going to be mentors and helping. They're not being released, but they're helping other people, other inmates make good decisions. So hearing them speak and just seeing the families who were so happy and relieved that their son had had a positive influence. So it was a really wonderful thing. And I will also say that when we had our last meeting, I encouraged everyone to come to see the 99-year-old Rosie the Riveter, Jean Gibson, that following day. And I'm happy to say there was a good contingent from the city office, City Hall, and we had about 40 people all together. And this 99-year-old spunky lady who had built destroyers in 44 and 45 was talking about her welding. So I wanted her to see welding today. So the plumbers and steam fitters put on a really nice thing and took her and a couple people and showed her 3 different kinds of welding. And there she is with her welding hood. And she was so amazed because the welding hood that she wore in 45, you know, was much heavier and didn't automatically darken and do all these things. So she was just ecstatic to be there. And then she gave us the presentation to all those. And she sent me the most, you know, really nice thank you to me for inviting her and just how she enjoyed the day so much. And the people who were there really enjoyed it. So if you missed it, sorry, she won't be around for long, but I really did appreciate it. And that was a use of district dollars. That's why I'm telling you the story, because we spent district dollars to do that program. So that's it for me.
Councilmember Ritchie.
I was on one committee. It's Travis Community Consortium. It was a great meeting. They're always great meetings. It's, the TCC is also Mayor Carley's there as well. It's amazing. It's an honor to be a part of the TCC and go in the room and you see just representation from all over the county and different cities. It just really come together to protect the main goal is protect Travis, protect our community, make sure that base has what it needs. It was great. We had a presentation. I mean, she was amazing. It was I would say a young lady from actually NASA. I think it was the Silicon Valley facility. And it's sometimes it's really interesting to have a outside looking in opinion from someone. She was literally brilliant. Like everyone said sarcastically, but she was a brilliant. And the passion she had, she was pouring into everybody there, just about everything about our county and what can be in our county, what can come, and having Travis there and all the different intricate opportunities she saw, it was really, it's electric. That we have a lot going on, and not to lose sight that we talked about some areas and opportunities, but it was just really interesting to see someone that has no vested interest come in and say, hey guys, like you guys have something going on here. If you guys all get together, there's a lot of opportunity. So that's support. The last thing to report out, there was a recent death in our community, and it's pretty tough. His name's Gene Ray. I knew him my whole life. My dad and him, literally my dad and him and a guy named Dennis Alexio. When I was a kid, I used to watch them fight. And I know what's going on. They just kickbox, they would fight, and I thought it was scary, but they actually enjoyed it. They're laughing. Gene Ray was like a 9th degree black belt. Dennis Alexio was a kickboxer from Vacaville, and they would have fun and start fighting and rolling around. But those are early memories I have of him. But he's an amazing soul. He has a great, he's gonna be missed. And so it's just, I like to close a memory of him. I grew up my whole life knowing him. He's a great person. He's always there to serve, always there to help and uplift. And that's it.
Councilmember Freeman.
Yes, thank you. Just a little bit more on Cap Solano, I've been to a couple meetings there and in case I didn't have enough acronyms to learn, going to that one really, I mean, they have a lot more acronyms so I've been choking on the acronyms, but I just wanted to say, Tamara has been really great, really smart person, and just to be able to glean off of her a little bit and some others in the room that I'm really impressed with our city staff. They just do a great job. Ken, all the numbers that you pull out, and try to help us to make sense of them. And Brian, just hearing a lot of good things about you. So I just wanted to say that. Also, I read through, so when I got to the Parks and Rec nominees, I actually flipped through the first page where the mayor had already made some choices, and I had missed that part. So I read every single one of these, I mean, all the way through. And wow, we got a lot of impressive people that stood up and, you know, were ready to come forward and, you know, be part of the process, be part of our community. And so there's some pretty tough choices. I had one of my own that I had brought forth that I thought was really would add some value. And tell you the truth, I was disappointed that that person wasn't, you know, brought on board, you know, but such is life. So I think the process worked pretty well. Again, you know, and then when I got back to the front, I thought, oh, wait a minute, he's already made his choices. So, so like I said, I was a little bit bummed out about that, but you know, I'll get over it, live to fight another day, you know? So, anyways, yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm impressed with the level of people that we have running our city and the people that want to be a part of it. So that was it.
Councilmember Wiley?
Just one more thing after hearing Councilmember Ritchie. So I also was part of the TCC meeting for the first time because that's a new thing since January. And I also listened to the scientist from NASA who was a veteran and has high school kids. And she also told us she had her termination papers. So there's a good scientist that's being terminated. That's it.
Right. All right. I think the only thing I'll speak on is Sullivan County Water Agency. There was everyone's knowing that we're paying attention to our water rights. And so there's always the presentations that come back and from we'll just say that there is a lobbyist that is always looking at bills to see, you know, where the threats are. There, on a positive note, there was an article that was just published, and it was they included language that came from the executive director there, and it was pretty exciting. And you wouldn't think that you needed to really understand the importance of Pewter Creek and Lake Berryessa and how to do it right. But I will share it with the council. The story is on native salmon that's coming back to Lake Berryessa, and they were able to prove it. And the example in the end of this was maybe there can be more Pewter Creeks around the state. The 20 years, over 20 years of conservation to demonstrate that you can manage water at the same time from an ecological standpoint, prove that you can put in those measures. And Justin, you're very well aware of this. This is important. And the reason is when our comments are being heard by the state water board in making a decision about cutting water, and we're trying to make decisions. That article today is fantastic because it says, you don't need to do anything for us because we've already done it. And so it's really People's Exhibit number 1, that you want to cut water for that reason, but there's proof and it's been documented that we don't have the problem. And so I just want to say thank you because you're behind a lot of that and working with the board, but that's the report out because more is going to come. The state will make a decision this year on what the cuts will really look like. And so that's really what I want you to know, that my representation on that. If I do believe that there's anything that is of critical nature, it's every month, so I'll bring it back. But we're making comments, whether they're in person or written, as a city, but also as a county-wide board. Yes.
Sorry. So I know there was a presidential order to open up another dam in California for the reasons provided. Are we concerned about that from our?
Not from here, and I'm not aware of any location. There clearly has been discussion for years about the need for dams and water for all the reasons, ag, municipal, industry, and ecological reasons. What has happened, correct me if I'm wrong, there's been 2 dams that have been removed. And so that seems to go backwards, but that's for, a lot of times that's for going back to habitat. In this particular case, we created Lake Berryessa and it was a bold move. And so that was the concern, and here we are. We've demonstrated that we can actually coexist from an ecological perspective. So I don't see that there's any issues with that.
Okay.
Because the dam is owned. It's run by the cities and county in this county, and so it's something to protect. But it's a good outcome, that's for sure. So keep us informed. Yes, Councilmember Wiley.
I was just going to mention this, maybe you were going to too, but another great thing about the water agency is the $1 million that was in our consent calendar.
That's right.
So
Good
thank
point.
you,
Good point.
Public Director McLean and the water agency, so that we can keep moving forward with that.
That's right. So we have a good partnership with them, and so taking care of the city for sure. And with that, I understand, Greg, where you're at. I was already planning on closing in honor, but it can be for both of them. We don't have to ever just say for one person. I want to recognize Deanna Lynn Johnson. She was murdered in 1982. And she, nothing can ever bring a 14-year-old back. What do you tell to a mother? I've been a homicide detective. I've had to face family with a 14-year-old. The only thing that you can do as an investigator is you can do your very best to find closure, but it never ends. And so the only sense of closure now is that the suspect, and this has been a cold case for a long time, it's been worked for years. I don't even know how many detectives it was assigned, because these types of cases are never closed. They're never closed. And when I was a detective, it was on my desk. And so we've worked it for years, and it's been a lot of good detective work, but ultimately it's been 6 years in custody pending a trial, something like that. And there was a recent conviction. So I also want to end tonight in memory of Deanna Lynn Johnson. So thank you, and it certainly is important that we represent the city. And I appreciate the members of the council and staff for working with me on the commission appointment. So with that, we will end and close the meeting. This meeting is adjourned. Good night, Vacaville.